We weren't alone. I've never liked the woods. By day, they can seem quiet, even beautiful, but at night they become something else entirely. Still, when Sophia suggested renting a cabin in the middle of nowhere for a romantic weekend, I accepted. I wanted it to be special for her. At that time, there were no cabin rental apps. Almost everything was searched on Facebook, and we would send messages to inquire. Well, that's how we found Scott Taylor, the owner of a beautiful cabin deep in the forest about 3 hours away. Scott, who in hindsight was obviously not a real person, gave us instructions on how to pay and pick up the keys at a small grocery store in the nearest town. The cabin had good reviews on Google, praising Scott's attentiveness and the beauty of the forest. Because of this, we didn't hesitate. We were eager to have the best weekend of our lives. We arrived just as the sun was beginning to set. The cabin was small, made of dark wood, with a porch that creaked under our steps. On the dining room table, next to a vase filled with withered flowers, lay a handwritten note. "Enjoy your stay. You won't be alone." "How creative," Sophia said, holding the paper between her fingers. She smiled, but those words left me with an uneasy feeling. We shook off the discomfort with a glass of wine and an improvised dinner. Between laughter, music, and caresses, the night passed without incident. But when we went to bed, I felt the atmosphere change. The wind had stopped, and the cabin seemed to hold its breath. It was Sophia who woke me up at midnight. "Marcos, there's someone in the kitchen." Her voice was barely a whisper, but her eyes reflected pure terror. My heart pounded as I sat up. Then I heard it. A creak, then another. Someone or something was there. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Slowly, we walked toward the kitchen. The air was thick, carrying a rancid smell that hadn't been there before. When we arrived, blood was smeared on the walls. All the drawers were open and cutlery was scattered across the floor. The back door stood ajar, revealing the black abyss of the forest beyond. There were no signs of forced entry, yet the feeling of being watched became unbearable. I could almost feel someone breathing down my neck. "Let's get out of here," I whispered, grabbing Sophia's hand. We rushed back to the room and hastily stuffed our things into our backpacks. That's when Sophia froze, staring at her phone. "Marcos, we didn't take this." She showed me the screen. It was a picture of us in the cabin, taken that very night. Nothing seemed off at first until I noticed the dark silhouette standing in the doorway. A shiver ran down my spine. "Let's go. Now." I didn't wait for an answer. I grabbed Sophia and we ran out of the cabin, leaving most of our things behind. The weight of the night pressed down on me, an invisible threat lurking in the forest. As I started the car, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The cabin door stood wide open, and in the threshold, someone was watching us. I never imagined that a chance encounter at a party would end this way. It all started a month ago at a friend's house. It was a small gathering, one of those where everyone knows each other except for one or two strangers. Among them was a guy who introduced himself as Leo. He seemed nice, friendly, polite, and a little shy. We talked for a while and exchanged numbers. By the end of the night, he left with a charming smile. I thought he would be just another acquaintance, someone I might talk to occasionally. But the next morning, I received his first message. "Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept well." It didn't seem strange, so I responded kindly. But the messages didn't stop. Every hour, every moment of the day, my phone vibrated with his notifications. He asked me what I was doing, what I was eating, who I was with. If I took too long to reply, he sent more messages, asking if I was mad at him or if he had done something wrong. Within a week, I knew something wasn't right. I tried to put some distance between us, but he didn't get the hint. One day, I confronted him, telling him I didn't want to keep talking. His response chilled me. "I just want to take care of you. No one will love you like I do." That same day, I blocked him. Weeks passed and the fear faded. No more messages, no calls, nothing. I thought he had finally understood and moved on. But on February 14th, a package on my doorstep told me otherwise. The heart inside was still bleeding. I dropped the box instantly, watching as its warm blood stained the floor. No, it wasn't human, thank God. But still, you get the point. It was his twisted way of showing love, a disgusting one. Then my phone vibrated, an unknown number. My stomach twisted as I read the message. "Happy Valentine's Day, my love. See you soon." My breathing became erratic. My hands trembled. I rushed to lock every door and window, lowering the blinds. Peeking through the peephole, I saw nothing, but I felt watched. My mind raced. Where did he get that heart? What kind of animal was it? Then another notification lit up the screen. It was a photo, a picture taken from my living room window. My knees went weak, my hands shaking uncontrollably. My vision blurred for a moment. Leo was out there. He had found me. I don't remember how I managed to call the police, only that I begged them to come quickly. By the time they arrived, he was gone. Things have calmed down since then, but I still live in fear, because deep down, I know that crazy bastard will come back. Mariana. It all started in a downtown cafeteria, one of those small and cozy ones that almost nobody knows about. It was a refuge after work, the place where I disconnected from the noise of the city with a coffee and a book. It was there that I saw her for the first time. That was where I saw Mariana. She was beautiful in a strange way, with a melancholic air in her eyes and a soft smile that seemed full of secrets. She sat at the table next to me, and for some reason, I couldn't help but talk to her. From that day on, we started seeing each other often. She didn't have social media and said she didn't like to expose her life. She always avoided talking about her past, but her presence captivated me. There was something about her, something addictive. After a couple of weeks, we were already a couple. One night, while we were having coffee in my apartment, I mentioned how cold it was outside. I've always had cold hands, Mariana answered with a smile. She took my hand and I felt a shiver run through me. It wasn't the typical coldness of someone with poor circulation. It was something else, something that gave me goosebumps. I didn't think much of it at the time. But then, strange things started happening. When I tried to call her, her number didn't exist. If I asked for pictures of her childhood or her family, she changed the subject. Whenever I invited her to my house, she always left before midnight. Until one day, out of curiosity, I typed her name into a search engine. That's when everything became more complicated. Her name was common, and the results were endless. Searching by images only made things worse. So I tried searching for news articles instead, hoping to narrow it down. That's when I found something that made my blood run cold. It was a local news portal. Mariana Ruiz died on October 12th of last year in a car accident. The world fell apart around me. The article had her photo. It was her. There was no doubt. I didn't sleep that night. My mind raced in circles, trying to convince myself it had been a mistake, but fear gnawed at me from the inside. The next morning, I went to the cemetery where the article said she had been buried. I searched for her name among the tombstones, hoping, praying, not to find it. But it was there. Mariana Ruiz, 1995 to 2022. You will always be in our hearts. My legs trembled. It couldn't be true. Then I remembered, on the last night we saw each other, in my apartment, she had spilled coffee on my shirt. I rushed home, desperate to prove to myself that I had imagined everything. At that moment, I would have preferred to be diagnosed as delusional rather than face the alternative. When I got home, I searched for that shirt. Luckily, I hadn't washed it yet. There it was, with the dark coffee stain still visible. And at that moment, I felt it. The same icy cold I had always felt when I was with her. Fear slowly crept over me. I turned around suddenly, expecting, dreading, to find her standing behind me, smiling as always. But there was nothing. Only the wind slipping through the window, caressing the back of my neck with a chilling touch. Love at first sight. For months, I had seen the same man on the bus every night and morning. He was always there, sitting a few rows away, looking at me with a shy smile. At first, I didn't pay much attention to him, but as time passed, I started noticing him more. He would make small gestures of greeting, as if we were sharing a silent secret. Even on bad days, his gaze seemed to calm me down. One day, just as I was getting off the bus, he approached me. "Hi, I'm Daniel. I know this sounds weird, but I've been seeing you here for a while and, well, I'd love to take you out for coffee." There was something in his voice, in the way he spoke to me, something that made me feel safe. Why not? I figured I had nothing to lose. Our first date was perfect. We walked around town and had dinner in a small restaurant with warm lights and soft music. I was surprised at how much we seemed to fit together. He knew exactly what to say to make me laugh and when to stay silent to let me talk. He even knew what questions to ask to make me feel special. When we said goodbye, he gently took my hand and kissed me. I knew you would accept, he whispered against my lips. His words should have felt sweet, reassuring. Instead, something about them unsettled me. It felt strange, like something in my mind wasn't quite right. My attraction to Daniel had been instant, as if he knew exactly how to make me like him. He always said the right things. He anticipated my words before I even spoke. Then, one day, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a post. How to condition someone's mind to make them fall in love with you. My heart pounded as I clicked on it. It was a detailed account of everything that had happened to me over the past few months. I saw her for the first time on the bus. I knew she was perfect. I couldn't approach her right away, so I used the subtle reinforcement technique. First, little smiles, then friendly gestures, getting her used to my presence. Once her brain associated me with something positive, I waited for the perfect moment to talk to her. My hands trembled as I kept reading. On the date, I reinforced her emotional connection. I used mirroring techniques, repeating her gestures and words to make her feel like we had so much in common. The music, the lighting, the tone of my voice, everything was calculated. In the end, I said the key phrase, I knew you would accept. A knot formed in my stomach. Everything had been planned. My attraction, my trust, even my laughter. None of it had been real. This wasn't love. It was pure manipulation. I slammed my laptop shut and blocked his number immediately. For days, I felt his presence everywhere. Every fleeting glance from a stranger on the bus felt like him, watching me. I knew he had realized I had discovered his plan. And that terrified me. The last time I took the bus, I looked around cautiously. His seat was empty. But the fear didn't go away. Because if he had done this to me, how many others had fallen into his trap? And worse, how many more would?